One of the big things I'm always talking about on my channel is the tokenization of real estate, the tokenization of real world assets, specifically real estate. It's one of the things that people that are involved in blockchain, crypto, we're just waiting for is real estate to go into the blockchain. It's a really big deal. And that when it happens, it's going to be beneficial to all of us. It can really lower costs, speed up transactions, things like that. One place they're actually doing a test on this, before I even talk to that part, one of the things about getting titles on the blockchain, the problem is that real estate in this country is done at the county level. It's not done at the federal level. The federal government has very little to do with real estate in general when it comes to the ownership rights of real estate. It's all done at the county level. So you're going to see a lot of turf wars when we do start approaching this issue of getting titles on a blockchain. What blockchain are they on? Because they're not going to want to go on some blockchain that they don't trust. They want it to be something that's going to be there forever. You don't want it to be on some brand new blockchain that no one has confidence that it's going to be there in a few years. Plus, dealing with a bunch of county commissioners trying to explain to them blockchain technology is going to be, I would say, almost virtually impossible at this point. We almost need, well, basically, we need a national solution to get titles on blockchain. I think one of those ideas would be is if the title companies themselves got together and they could be, if you know anything about blockchain, you'll know that there's going to be node operators or the people that secure the blockchain. Getting titles on blockchain, approaching the title companies themselves to put, they could be the node operators that are the ones that secure the blockchain would get them involved. You need title companies to buy in and be involved in this because they make so much money. Now, I'm not going to say title insurance is a scam, other than it is the most ridiculous scam in the world in real estate. The fees are extraordinary, and we really don't need it for the vast majority of deals. I know a lot of title people are probably going to jump on here and say that's not true, but the vast majority of the work that's done by title companies when they're basically, you know, um, let's say in the transactions curing title defects, it's going to be spelling errors on documents and things like that. The idea of title insurance goes back a long time ago when we didn't have computer records. You had old, unverifiable paper records sitting in a courthouse somewhere, and that the actual physical paper deeds were very important. Someone would buy a property, and then the farmer's grandfather's kid has some other document to prove he owned it 100 years ago. They're going to march into court. It was a nightmare. Nowadays, when you have real estate, basically, let's talk about city real estate. No one's worried about a city property who owned it 150 years ago and having that person come along. It's just not really a thing. It's really not. If we could get title insurance or titles on the blockchain, it would really solve a lot of these problems. Someone could look, anyone, it's very public information on the blockchain. Anyone could look up that information on the blockchain, verify the chain of title over the past as long as you want, as long as that blockchain had the records for. And you wouldn't need anyone to insure it for thousands of dollars when you can just go look it up yourself. You can see who owns it. I've been in real estate for 30 years. I have never once been involved in a title insurance claim of someone claiming that ownership of that title going back years and years. I don't know. Maybe it's happened. If you guys have experienced that, someone please leave a comment down in the description below. Tell us your story. I have seen issues with easements that have come up that title insurances came and helped with. That's a real thing. So, title insurance, traditionally, I would argue we really don't need it. Title companies that cure up or help with issues along things like easements can be a thing, or you do want your documents prepared correctly. In my area, most of our closings are done by title insurance companies, but then again, they charge for that separate from the title insurance. And usually there's multiple title insurance policies when there's a purchase of a house. You've got the owner's policy when he buys the house, and then you've got a lender's policy to guarantee their side of it also. This is a lot of money. These expenses run into the thousands of dollars, and this is a big deal. This is a big deal for home ownership. It's getting more expensive for people. The fees going up in real estate are extraordinary. And to get those fees down is super important because affordability of housing in this country is getting critical. Now, let me show you this article right here. I'm not going to read it, but it says Baltimore leverages blockchain for real estate. Now, what they're doing is in Baltimore, they have a lot of vacant houses, a lot of rundown properties, and they want to basically flip these properties, get investors to buy them, fix them up and flip them to homeowners. One of the problems that they have is you have vacant properties that have been vacant for a very long time. So what's happening in Baltimore, if you wanted to be a developer and flip these properties, you will be involved in multiple title searches over the process, the time you're going to flip this property. This is a problem if it's costing you $1,500 every single time to do a title policy for each one of these properties. Now, in my area, we don't have this problem, so I don't know to claim to be an expert in Baltimore real estate. But if you are basically trying to flip a substandard vacant property and you're going to have to go through 3 or 4 potential title searches and a policy on each one, that's a nightmare. It's not going to happen. So they've contracted with a private company. Now, I did some research about this company because I want to know what blockchain they're using. And there really wasn't that much information. So unfortunately, I couldn't do that deep of a dive on the investigation. But I think there was a $225,000 contract with a company called Medici Land Governance. It's a 3-year pilot test study. It's going to run parallel with the city's own title, basically their own probably county in that area, but the county's title searches, and they're going to try and put as much of those title records on chain as they can, running parallel. And this is a really big deal. This is a really big deal because if this could happen and it's successful and they could roll this out in other areas, we can finally start seeing some traction on getting titles on blockchain. Now, if you want to know some of the problems, this is really hilarious. Look at this right here. This is the American Land Title Association, and this is for 2022. Title insurance industry generated $21 billion in insurance premiums in 2022. Skip down here. In 2022, the industry paid more than $596 million in claims. Now, I don't know why they're saying this as if more than is a big deal. $21 billion in insurance premiums, and all they paid out was $596 million in claims. Okay, so that is $20.4 billion that they just kept. Yeah, they have a lot of expenses. They run really nice offices. They've got kickbacks to lawyers they've got to pay. They've got title reps that are on commission. They've got all those really nice pins they give to us at the office. I'm being cynical, but in my area, title insurance is so heavily regulated. They don't give us anything. I mean, if I call the title company, I've done this, and I want to give a list of homeowners I want to market to, I have to pay for that. The only thing that they'll give us for free anymore in our area is that they will give us pens. That I'll give them that. They come to our office and they'll give us pens. In the old days, they would give out huge gifts to real estate agents. They would give out lavish gifts, not just like gift baskets, but you could go on a trip if you gave them enough policies in the year. I mean, imagine if you are an agent and you do 100 deals a year, that's 100 title insurance policies for maybe, let's say, $1,100. Okay, so that's over $100 and some $1,000 in fees that you're going to give to a title insurance company, and they're going to pay out a few $1,000s. They have a lot of money there to play with to try and get more business. So, title people are some of the nicest people in the world. They really do like to help out agents, and they do help on closings. They do cure little problems. They can really help with title searches, especially to understand easements. That's a really big deal, especially unrecorded problems that are with a property. So I'm not trying to say that title doesn't have a role in the real estate industry. They certainly do. But what it's sort of there for and the fees they charge are just a little high for what they're claiming it's going to be. And then this right here, $21 billion in premiums, and they paid out $500 million in claims. That's nothing. That really is nothing. Look at this article from NPR. So this is NPR, I know, NPR, but it's basically a conversation they were having here. And that this one person was saying that they had a $5,000 title insurance policy on a purchase of a house. A lot of money, $5,000. And 80% of it, or $3,800 of that, was kicked back to the attorney that was in the deal. Okay, so who's that benefiting other than the attorney that was in the deal? Nobody but the attorney. Certainly not the consumers are being helped by this. And check this out. Did you know that in Iowa, they passed a law, I think it was 47 years ago, that they outlawed title insurance. So it works. You pay $175 to the state when you buy a property, and they do that guarantee of the title of who owned it over the chain of ownership of real estate's important. But they outlawed it completely. If you're in Iowa, leave a comment below. Tell us about this. I actually, when I was researching this video, I didn't know this about Iowa, that they outlawed title insurance. They don't need it. They seem to be operating efficiently. They have a real estate market, and I don't think people are going to be complaining much except for the title companies about this. Um, but this is huge. I mean, $175 for title insurance and it's working fine. That tells us what the rest of the country needs to do. It really, really does. But I do say to Baltimore, good job for moving into the blockchain industry, getting a start on getting those titles on there. Because if we can get the fees for real estate down, it helps everybody and all the consumers. Because, like I said, cost of ownership and of real estate in this country is going through the roof. It's not going to get better. If you think real estate's going to be crashing in the next year, I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. There's too much migration going on in this country from big cities to smaller areas. You will see prices, maybe, hopefully, see prices in LA, Seattle, big areas like that going down, but you're not going to see it in smaller communities. We just don't have the inventories that's going on across all of America. People don't want to sell their houses because they have low interest rate mortgages. We're not building enough properties in this country, and we need a massive construction boom in this country. Ever since the 2008 crash, we have not been building enough houses. They changed the way lenders borrow to build properties. That's a big thing. If you went and looked at the stats from I think it was like 2011 to about 2018, we didn't build any houses. They just weren't doing it. It's a disaster. We've never caught up. We need more houses. We need cheaper houses. We need affordable houses. And one of those things they can do is they can get those fees down. Now, I don't think there's going to be a quick solution here on blockchain and titles. I wish there was, but I give, kudos and thumbs up to Baltimore for giving it a shot and starting. It's finally starting, but we get title on blockchain. It's going to benefit all of us.